Hi everyone, thank you so much for tuning, whether you're walking, taking a study break, whatever it is you're doing, thank you for joining us on this chat today. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at @YinWales and DM us to let us know how you found this episode.
Today we're going to be talking about the social injustices that have occurred over the past year or so for Asian communities around the world, and for homeless people, the increase in that in the UK and particularly in Wales, and the free school meal ordeal that was faced, and we will also be covering BLM movement and the ongoing protests.
And on top of that, I guess we're also going to be talking about how organizations and governments have been able to respond to these ongoing atrocities, really. And just to say again, it's not that these social issues or whatever are just, surface. No, these have been problems the entire time, but because of the fact that we were on lockdown, they've just been highlighted, and I think it's really important that we do talk about them because it's something that us as young people have been interested in, really active in. I'm really impressed about how everyone's been responding to it, right? Yeah, it's been really good. But anyway, we have two special guests with us here in the studio to talk about it. We have Lowri and Theresa.
Hello. How are you doing? Well, how are you all doing? It's been a long year for everybody, but I hope you're all well.
Good.
Yeah, good.
Alive.
Yeah, just about. That's all that matters. I'm actually just happy that we've made it this far to even be able to have this conversation, right, about what we've been able to do about it. Because it's another story to be having this conversation if we were so stifled in action that we couldn't do anything. But yeah, guys, introduce yourselves. What are you guys doing about, what have you guys been responding to, and what work do you guys do?
Do you want to go first?
You go first.
Okay, so my name is Theresa Obekilu, and I work as Education Officer in Swansea University Students' Union. So my role involves, the general representation of students. But obviously from last year, the resurgence of the Black Lives Matter movement, it was almost like, I need to do something. And we have quite a number of, black students in Swansea University, and I was also a student, so it was almost like, remembering my own experiences and kind of relating to, the experiences of other black students as well. So I was like, this is the right time to, take actions. This is the right time to kind of get the university to commit to, supporting black students. I mean, they have been doing that in the past, but it was more like we needed something more solid. And, I've been speaking about, racism or active anti-racism and race equality, but I think now was almost now it's in your face, you have to do something about it. So it was a good opportunity, regardless of everything that happened and all the people that lost their lives, but it was almost like, now it's time to do something about it.
Yeah, that's good.
I'm Lowri and I'm one of the organisers of
You're gonna
BLM
have to
Swansea.
speak a lot louder.
I don't speak loud. But my name's Lowri Davis and I'm one of the organisers of BLM Swansea, and we've been doing the protests, and one of the biggest protests in June of 2020, which saw 2,000 people. I didn't even know there were 2,000 people in Swansea.
You pulled that off. That was so good. And there was a protest the other week.
Yes, so this was a couple of weeks ago, and we had opposition this time.
I was there. I saw. It was actually ridiculous. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, from the alt-right. I mean, which means old white men. That were there. So.
And they were making stupid noises so that none of us could actually heard as well.
Yes, it was just horns and stuff whenever anybody would speak, which is a bit of a shame, but it is what it is.
Yeah. And you know what? I think it's really funny that you're saying it's old white men, because it is those people who grew up in a different time.
Yeah.
Right? I was having this conversation with my friend the other day, saying that the reason why they won't agree to say that you guys are being marginalized is because to them, I saw you as a maid, bro, you're an accountant now, your life is way better, you're not being biased again. But actually, when I'm called a monkey and I come tell you as my my senior, and you say to me, I get called a giraffe because I'm told, that's very insensitive. I couldn't take that. I was really shocked that someone would actually say that. Why would you think that that's the same thing?
It devalues what you're saying and how you feel when someone says something like that.
Yeah, it really does. I agree. But just going back a bit, because obviously you spoke about the protests that took place here in June, and that was after George Floyd.
Yes.
Obviously, because for those who don't know, Lowri looks white, but she's not. Apparently, I found it today. Lowri is not white. She's mixed, But like, what was your response, and why was that so important for you to do?
Right. So I've been in the BLM movement for a long time. So when the Ferguson riots kicked off in 2014, I went to London. Didn't tell my mum. I was 14. I was like, Mum, I'm just going to my friends. Don't worry about it. I was in London in the BLM protest, and back then it wasn't. People weren't. Like, they didn't know about BLM. It was more of a socialist movement, more than an apolitical one.
Yeah.
So it was quite violent. And so I've been in it for quite a long time. And then when the George Floyd, obviously, when his death happened, well, when he was murdered, it just, I was just like, oh my God, it's not changing. Why isn't it changing? This is ridiculous, you know, because we see it again and again and again, and it's the same process. It just looks different a little bit.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, there's different variations. Same with Eric Garner, same with Trayvon Martin. You know, we see it again and again. Same with Sandra Bland. And I was just like, I just can't. I just can't. And I saw that there was a protest in Cardiff. And I saw a girl post in the Cardiff protest chat. Is there one in Swansea? I was like, no, but I think I'm gonna make one. She was like, I'll do it with you, and that's how we met. We had no idea who each other were, and that's how we met. And we did the BLM Swansea protest in 6 days, the two of us.
Oh yeah.
I spoke there and like the whole information, but really, and I was like, oh my gosh, I really don't want to do this, but okay, I'll do it. It was really fun. It's actually really good. There were so many people.
You spoke so well.
And you know what? Like, I think that is the good thing about this generation. It's almost like we've seen our parents go through it while being silent. But this generation, there is this fire that I am so proud of. Like, look at Lowri. Like, that day I was like, what? This many people? And just seeing how people spoke so passionately. It was almost like if Lowri didn't think about it, you know, people would really want to have protested, but they wouldn't have the opportunity to because they're either shy, or they don't feel like it's the right time. But, I am so, blessed to be part of this generation of, people that have just had enough and really want to make change, and not just asking for change, but willing to be part of that change as well. So I am so proud of you and so proud of all the people that, worked with you in organising it. I am so, so proud, honestly. I just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah, I couldn't have done it without Kavita, because the two of us, trust me, I didn't sleep for that 6 days, and I didn't eat very much. Maybe I had a sandwich like every 2 days or something, but I couldn't have done it without Kavita. And we've got an organisation now which she helped create, and now we've got more people, which is great. And which helps pull off these protests, because it's really it's not how you think it would be, like organising a protest. Like, you don't just show up and you're like, oh, we're protesting now. It was and the process. We were thinking, right, we want speakers and we want a host, we want to cover these categories, because it's important that people don't think that being black looks one way, or the black experience is not one thing. It's in medicine, it's in it's LGBT, it's in social work, all of these different categories, and we really wanted to hit some of them. Obviously we couldn't hit all of them, but that's what we wanted to do, because we wanted people to know that it's not just George Floyd. This is an international. This is anti-blackness on an international scale.
That's so true.
And it's everywhere, unfortunately, and that's why it was important to cover those categories. So,
And I like what you said about the fact that it's not just George Floyd, and you wanted to cover those different categories, because I think one thing that people don't actually talk a lot about, I guess now it's becoming a conversation, but how it's taught in schools. One of the things that I said was that I was taught to hate the color of my skin. I just wanted to be white. All of these different things, you start to look down upon yourself. Even just today, I'm just gonna be real. Like when I heard that, you know, obviously like your parents are mixed and all of like you're mixed and like all these different things, I was just like, oh my gosh, like, I wish I was like, and I was like, Joy, like no, you're, you know what I mean? And that's the thing, like from a young age, like girls to appreciate their hair, right?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, like you
That
had
took
to
a long time.
It took a long, like. But these small things that like we're starting to like, I guess they're movements that are highlighting, love yourself. No, you're not dirt. You're beautiful.
Yeah.
Like think of all those gorgeous.
Even when you grow.
I
I feel like it's even when you grow up and like dolls. At one point, I remember like when I was little, there was only white dolls.
And they were straight bodied, no curves.
Yeah, there was
Straight hair as well.
it was just a blonde Barbie or even a Bratz doll. I always saw a Yasmin or a Chloe.
Yasmin was black, girl. Yasmin was black because I had Yasmin. Was Yasmin black? Jasmine was black.
No,
Jasmine-
Sasha was black.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, and I never. Did you see a Sasha being sold in stores?
I had Sasha.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't see it. I didn't see it. I just saw like even makeup.
Yes.
Makeup isn't for everyone.
Yes.
It took
Took a minute.
It took a hot minute, a very long hot minute.
After a
That's
lot of
okay.
people looking like ghost faces, okay? Lol.
And do you know what's really interesting about, you know, discrimination and segregation, especially based on race? Like, it literally appears in different forms. It's in little things like plasters, it's in
Yeah.
kids' toys, it's in our education system, it's in our curriculum, it's, you know, it's even in the models we look up to, it's in our politicians, you know, it's in the people in power, it's in, you know, the people in high places. So it's almost like if, you know, a student of color is, for example, studying and they don't see themselves reflected in those spaces, it's almost like you're telling them they can't achieve those targets, you know. They're studying politics and all the people in politics are all white, male, straight people. It's almost like there is no space for them. And to be honest, I never really thought about the whole plastic thing until like recent. I was like, raw, why have I not got one that's nude to my skin?
Yeah.
And when you actually check for like nude items, like shoes, nude shoes for example, you don't see one that is nude to your own skin.
Yeah.
And I mean, I want to be able to wear like a nude shoe, but it's not nude to my skin.
Imagine.
So true.
Yeah, hang on, I cut you off. No, imagine like even like having a child and then explaining to them and them going, well, mummy, like why doesn't this plaster match my skin? Is there not one that does? Because my friend over there, Chloe or whoever, that matches her skin. Why can't? And imagine having to explain that to your child. Like, I'm sorry, but society just.
Yeah, it's true, but I'm happy that that's changed. Like they are now classes, obviously that have our color. They are now. I don't know about nude shoes. That's what I'm saying. That's really interesting. I haven't thought about that.
Even bridal wares. You know, I walk past the city centre and I see those shops. I see the bridal wares on display, and you know where the patch that covers, you know, certain areas, they're really white as well. And I'm like, if I wear that on my skin, it would look off.
I got you.
So are you even the lace as well? So are you telling me I can't come into your shop?
Yeah, I get that. Okay, well, Lowri unfortunately has to leave the studio now, but thank you so much for joining us. You have another protest, yeah?
Yeah.
But what else, like, where can people find you, and is there anything else coming up this?
Yeah, so you can find us at Black Lives Matter Swansea on Facebook, and we're on Instagram and Twitter now. Look at us, don't have kids. And we're looking to do a protest now at the end of April, because, you know, this bill is coming out.
Oh yeah, the anti-protest. Is it
Yeah.
going to be out in Wales as well?
Yes, it's England and Wales. Yes. So yeah, we'll be protesting at the end of April, and but yeah, you can find us on all social medias because we're down with the kids. So
You're down with the kids. You are a kid, sis. You're a kid.
you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Not wrong. But thank you so much.
Thank you for
Have
having
another protest, hey?
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Lowri. Thank you, Lowri. Bye. I'm a bit sad that Lowri's gone because obviously we missed a point of perspective, but that's okay. It's okay. But going back to what she covered on Theresa, how would you say, like, you know, the institution or you have managed to, like, respond to everything that's been going on at the university?
Yeah, I think so. With my position and, you know, being able to represent students, and also, you know, sitting on high-level committee meetings with university staff members and the university senior leadership team, you know, I've been able to bring that, you know, student voice and to kind of let them know, you know, basically the needs of, you know, the needs of black students within Swansea University, and not just black students, minority ethnic students. Even though the nuances could be different, sometimes, you know, those experiences align. So that will be in terms of, you know, ensuring that there is more support for them in terms of their welfare, as well as, you know, pushing for a more decolonised curriculum.
That's
and
good.
I know I always talk about this because it's important that when we're teaching students, we're not only teaching from one perspective or from like a Eurocentric perspective, because we're not only, you know, we're not only disadvantaging them in erasing their own history, their own, you know, sense of belonging, but we're also depriving, you know, white students or non-minority ethnic students, you know, a whole perspective, a whole worldview really. And I think by the time students graduate, you know, they would graduate half-baked, because that way they would only have one side of, you know, one viewpoint really, and at the end of the day it spirals down and disadvantages the minority ethnic people. Because, for example, if you go through medical school and all you've seen is, you know, how diseases look like on white skin, or how certain conditions would appear on like white people, then you become a doctor and a black person or a minority ethnic person comes to you, you wouldn't be able to identify those issues. So which means you are at the end of the day disadvantaging them. So, and I think that is why there is a lot of I can't remember the word now, maybe apathy when it comes to black women. So black women die more, so you have black pregnant women die more in the hands of, you know, the healthcare system, and that's not really their fault, and that's not even the fault of the doctors, but it's a problem with the education system. So the education system already, you know, disadvantages people, and, you know, provides this platform of injustice already. So that problem is there. So that is why I'm really passionate about pushing for a decolonised curriculum. The other thing I've been pushing for is, you know, looking into scholarship schemes that can encourage minority ethnic students to go into like postgraduate studies. So currently we don't have a lot of minority ethnic students who go into postgraduate studies, because either they're the first people in their family to even get a university degree. So it's almost like they feel like getting a postgraduate degree, as opposed to seeing it as an added value, they see it as another debt. So it's more like, oh, it's just another level of debt they don't want to go into.
No, sorry, you hit, because that's my perspective. It's like, they make more money, I'm sorry, I'm fine.
Exactly, and they don't see value in that, because it's almost like, oh, okay, I'm going to go into this world of work and maybe not get a decent job anyway. So those are the things I've been, you know, really pushing in the university, and I'm really happy I've got so much support behind me. So it's not just me doing the work, but it's also every other person. The other thing we've been doing is pushing for more cultural competency training for our student leaders, for our student representatives, because these are like the people students would, you know, contact. So it will be good for them to, you know, be able to relate to your students when, you know, they come to them with issues. So yeah, that's a summary. That's just scratching the surface. But yeah, that's what I've been up to.
I like what you spoke about with regards to like the decolonized curriculum. You know, like you said, one perspective, but also apart from that, like, it's also, I think for me anyway, when I think about it, I feel like they're training people to have just one perspective, right? Like you're saying, and training followers and not allowing people to have freedom of thought, because when you only provide one perspective, no one has the opportunity to see how, for example, how can I argue against this? Because obviously in university, you cannot have an opinion that's not backed up by someone else's writing, right? So if you have an opinion that's contrary to everyone else's, then you have no ground to stand on, and you're going to get marked down. So I think that's a really important thing. But even in relation to medical students, I know there's a medical student, I think last year he actually released a book He's Zimbabwean. Shout out to him, my people, my people. But yeah, he released a book that shows how different medical conditions will look on the black skin and how our skin responds. So I think that's really, really important for people to know. Because again, like, people a lot of the time will get our diagnosis wrong because they're like, well, I've never seen this on you.
Exactly.
I can tell a white person because they've gone blue, they've gone purple. It's so much easier, but on our skin, like, we don't respond the same way.
Exactly, literally. And do you know what? It's in every field. It's in law. It's in politics. You know, who are we reading? Are we reading? Authors who promote, certain views. Some of these writers and frankly enough, some of these, what do they even call them now? The Karl Marx and the rest. Some of these philosophers, they are people who upheld racist views. So it's almost like why are we going back? Why are we reproducing what we're fighting against? So it's almost like we're not moving forward. We're just going back. And like Lowri said, like it's literally just the same thing, just happening in different forms.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it's very true. So I think like you said, I think it really does start in education because that's where they're like
that is the foundation.
Yeah, exactly. That's where we taught. And I like just even like looking beyond like Black Lives Matter and stuff. Obviously because of the onset of COVID.
I definitely agree. I feel like, especially since COVID has happened, there's been discrimination against Asian communities and they've been just receiving a lot of hate because it's kind of like there are people out there who think, oh, you're the reason that we're in this pandemic, it's you, let's take it out on your culture, let's take it out on you as an individual, like your ethnicity, and it's wrong, like that's not right, and it's called xenophobia. Xenophobia. It's called xenophobia.
It's fine. Have you seen any, have there ever been any xenophobic attacks, like, that you've known of or know someone who was attacked against?
You know what, I've seen on just, like, some meme pages where they've kind of just, I don't know, I think it was like a Asian boy on the bus. It was, like, on social media, and I think they were, like, just calling him a bat or something, or like chucking shit at him, or chucking items at him. Yeah.
I know. Obviously, when at the start of the pandemic, there were so many memes on social media, which were, frankly enough, very uncomfortable as well, and it's bad because you're judging someone because of where they've come from. Some of them have not even gone home. Some of them have never even been to their home country. And because we know that the virus started in Wuhan. So because of that, anyone who is remotely even Chinese, you segregate. And I know a lot of people stopped eating Chinese food. I know a lot of memes on social media. People literally jumping off the bus when they see like an Asian person. And it's almost like, it really doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And now that it has spread and they can see like anyone can catch it, and it's not just because of where you've come from. I think.
You know what? Last year I lived with 2 Chinese students, and they stayed because obviously they couldn't go back home for the pandemic, and then loads of people were like leaving obviously, and it was just like me and 2 Chinese girls left in our like building on Bay. And before then, like I remember people be like, whoever else was living in the flat before they left, because obviously they had to go back home, they were just like receiving, I don't know, like looking in the kitchen, they didn't want to touch their stuff, they were like, oh, like COVID, like stuff like that. And I was thinking, well, they've been here this whole time, how are they going to automatically give us corona all of a sudden because they're Chinese? It doesn't make sense.
That's so bad.
Yeah, I know. It was horrible.
Like,
it's horrible to watch.
Yeah.
And
to actually know someone that has experienced it, I think it's a different level. And just reflecting back now, a lot of people had to go back home because they didn't feel safe enough here.